watching Discovery Health Channel.
You know, I was quite certain that I could kill almost anyone. I could do these things without even thinking twice about it.
A family's legacy.
I obsessed. I thought I needed to kill the baby.
Bipolar disorder, a debilitating mental illness. A new treatment comes from an unlikely place.
It is an unbelievable story.
Can a nutritional supplement for animals bring peace to people suffering from bipolar disorder? Or are they simply buying snake oil?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Tony Stephan is the kind of man who lives for his children. There are 10 of them and half a dozen grandchildren. To outsiders, the Stephans look like a big, happy Mormon family. They are close and devout.
Our righteous Father in heaven, we're truly grateful for this wonderful day, and we're grateful for the food that's set before us. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
But this family has an anguished past. After the birth of their 4th child, Tony's wife Debbie struggled with severe emotional problems. She finally went to her doctor.
She was diagnosed with bipolar affective disorder 1. Certainly a very common disorder. Very, very typical in that sense. She rapid cycled. That means that she would move fluctuating between depressive moods and moving into the euphoric side, the manic side of the cycle.
For the next decade, Tony watched his wife deteriorate.
There were some days she couldn't get out of bed, where she had no vitality for life at all, where her life was very sullen, very, very deeply depressed. Then she would have the mood swing. She would move into the manic cycle, where she was very, very high and she had a lot of energy, and by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, the lights were all on the house, the vacuum cleaner was running, the music was blaring. A lot of inappropriate behavior.
They tried a cocktail of drugs, but nothing worked. Desperate, Tony decided to move to Debbie's hometown. Cardston, Alberta is bedrock Mormon country. Surrounded by family, friends, and her church, Tony hoped Debbie would get better. But the move only made things worse.
I remember waking up one night in the middle of the night, and she was in bed with me, and she was sitting up and she was crying. And I remember asking her, "Deb, what's wrong? What's happening? Why are you crying?" And she said, "I just don't know. I don't know who I am anymore. Am I this person or am I that person?"
But Tony wasn't around much to comfort her. His new job as a distributor of pet supplies kept him on the road a lot.
I was afraid to leave home, yeah, because you didn't know what you were going to face when you come back.
Debbie wallowed in a deep depression for 2 more years. By January 1994, she could take it no longer.
I had a very, very bad feeling about the situation. I called a number of times, and unfortunately, it came to me. I felt like she was gone.
While Tony was away on business, Debbie Stephan hooked up a hose from the exhaust pipe of their minivan. She died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Debbie's case is all too typical. Bipolar disorder is so severe, 1 in 5 sufferers commit suicide.
Here was a mom that had a great love for her family, and that just couldn't do it anymore. That just couldn't cope with all of the depression and all of the confusion and all the cycling and all of the problems that are part of that disorder. I think that's the saddest part of the whole thing.
Scientists believe some people are predisposed to bipolar disorder. New research suggests a stressful life event may alter the delicate balance of neurotransmitter chemicals in the brain. Too much of one chemical, too little of another, can trigger periods of wild and inappropriate behavior, followed by deep despair. After Debbie died, Tony got a new job as a property manager, which kept him closer to home. He remarried. He and new wife Barbara did their best to hold the family together, but it was a struggle. Tony began to see that two of his children, Autumn and Joe, had inherited their mother's disorder. Joe was just 13 years old when he first noticed the signs.
I would just get all dark and dingy. You know, I was quite certain that I could kill almost anyone or anything. You know, it even scared myself that I could do these things without even thinking twice about it.
He was a wonderful young little guy. And all of a sudden this young man hits puberty. The whole picture changes, you see. All of a sudden he's depressed and he's hyper irritable and he rages at the drop of a pin and he's explosive. And then he's high.
And Joseph was dangerous. He was obsessed with knives.
I was very paranoid of being attacked by, you know, like government kind of things, you know, SWAT teams and stuff. So I would stockpile just about any kind of weapon I could get my hands on. You know, knives, even rifles. Just about anything that I could maim or destroy. I would have piled away somewhere.
He slept in the room above us. And if it sounded like he had woken up and gotten out of bed, we were up like a bolt. We had to. We were very, very nervous, very, very afraid because his behavior was so unpredictable.
So Tony Steffen began a long search for help for his troubled son. That journey would end with a remarkable discovery. But it began with a visit to Brian Lowe, the Steffen family doctor.
When I saw him in early April of 1995, there were a lot of concerns about Joe and his family. His family was actually quite terrified of him, and he was delusional at times. Joe had verbally threatened to kill his siblings and his stepmother several times. I felt at this time that he was definitely bipolar. I prescribed lithium in April of 1995. There was some concern about his compliance with medication of lithium.
That was just a horrendous feeling. I hated that. Whenever I would take that, I would get the shakes and just feel so crappy. Like it made me feel not all there, like physically. I just didn't feel good at all.
Like so many bipolar patients, Joseph had trouble with the side effects of lithium: nausea, grogginess, and weight gain. He resisted taking the medication.
We'd have to literally take him down. Numbers of us, 2, 3, 4 of us, would have to take him down on the floor and load him up with lithium and pour water in his mouth to get him to swallow it. When you're that desperate, you'll do anything. You'll look under every rock to find these answers. I spent a lot of time on my knees. There wasn't any answers.
Tony was at his darkest moment when he believes his prayers were finally answered.
Yeah, this carcass gotta be about 16 years.
Sir?
Tony managed a property owned by the Mormon Church. That's where he met David Hardy, a church volunteer and a hog feed salesman.
How much traffic they really get.
That meeting would change everything.
I remember him saying one day, as we were standing in that hallway talking about this, he said, "You know, Tony, I don't know a whole lot about mental disorders, but," he said, "I spent 20 years in the animal feed industry." He said, "I used to formulate feed for livestock," and he said, "There was something that I saw commonly in the hog pens."
David's barnyard observation would prove pivotal.